Well, well, well. What up, everybody? It's a Friday. Amen. Can you believe it's Friday, right? Right? It's Friday? I gotta double check. I feel like this week has just flown by. I don't even know what day of the week it is. What is going on? How's the weekend looking for you guys? Uh-oh. Just lost my song. What happened? Nate, what's up, dude? Thanks for jumping on, man. I haven't seen you in a while on here. Haven't seen you in a while in general. It's been too long. All right, guys. K-Town here, K-Creative for Bamboo Solutions, doing our SharePoint Weekly Newsletter Roundup. We are going to do that thing we do on Fridays. Go over the newsletter. If I can pull it up. I did see it actually go out this week, so whoop, we're back in action. Where is it at here? Here it is. View in browser. Let's get that thing loaded up and take a look. Like the hat? Oh yeah, sapwood. Represent. All right, guys, if you don't know already, this is our newsletter. Drop that down. I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Screen share. There we go. So, yeah, if you've never seen it before, this is the newsletter we send out every Friday. This is sort of a compilation of all the latest news over the past 7 days regarding pretty much Microsoft in general. Azure, SharePoint, Office 365, Microsoft 365, you name it. Kind of touches all of everything in that space. So anyways, we go through it. We go through the top news stories, see around the blogosphere. Wow, we got a lot of blog posts to cover today. And then the events currently going on in SharePoint space so that you can take part, maybe go and join. I did hit up SharePoint Saturday in Reston on the 1st last weekend for a little bit. So if you were out there, missed you, but would have been cool to see you next time, huh? So here we go, guys. Let me turn these tunes down just a hair. So let's get through it. Top news stories this week. How does Microsoft Power Platform stack up against SharePoint? What do you mean against SharePoint? Aren't they complementary? Oh, yeah. Good old advertisements there. Let's see what they're saying. Organizations that purchase the Office 365 E5 plan reap many benefits, including more than 23 different workloads and services. The services include hosted email, cloud storage, SharePoint, Power Apps, Power BI, Microsoft Flow, Teams, Skype, Yammer, and Cloud PBX. So while many companies are still trying to make the most out of Exchange Online, SharePoint, and OneDrive, there are other organizations that have shifted their attention to the Microsoft Power Platform, seeing that it can provide capabilities that go beyond SharePoint. Power Platform consists of three main products: Power Apps, Power BI, and Microsoft Flow. And in some ways, the Power Platform competes with SharePoint, and in others, it replaces it. Here's how each of the components work. So you got Power Apps, which is the replacement for InfoPath 2013. It's not official, but that's what everyone's kind of assuming at the moment. It offers far more capabilities than its predecessor, including mobile app development, rich UI for end users, and an easy-to-use designer that requires no coding experience. It also includes Flow. If you haven't used Flow yet, man, are you missing out on some automation tools there. I pretty much have flowed everything. I'm flowing Dynamics to WooCommerce to SharePoint, you name it, touching everything. Got this automation going on. It's awesome. Flow is so cool. It offers more than 272 connectors to services including YouTube, Twitter, SharePoint, email, Dropbox, Marketo, and more. Zero coding. Yep. I am actually running into some complications in Flow recently, but I'm actually doing some pretty complicated, so I've been considering going to an Azure function to replace one of my flows, but we'll see. Power BI. Many enterprises now consider Microsoft Power BI to be the top contender when it comes to data visualization. I would definitely agree. It's some sexy looking dashboarding going on there. It's free to customers, but if any dashboards need to be shared across an organization, a paid subscription is required. Power BI can be embedded within SharePoint pages, if you didn't know all that. With most Office 365 users taking advantage of the E1, E3, and E5 plans, all of which include the Microsoft Power Platform services, there are ample opportunities for IT and business users to move away from SharePoint. Ain't happening. Ain't moving away from SharePoint. No way. No way. Not with all the cool stuff coming out of SharePoint conference in May. Man, that ain't happening. You ain't moving away. Nope. But the Power Platform will allow you to extend and enhance your SharePoint functionality and capabilities, right? That's kind of the way I look at it. It looks like they did too, but anyways, Microsoft 2019 SharePoint Conference. Speaking of the top announcements, I actually just did we do internal TED Talks every couple weeks or so here at Bamboo, and so I gave one yesterday just kind of going over a rehash of what was announced at 2019 SharePoint Conference. And so let's touch on a couple of those real quick, huh? Let's see. Says for the most part, however, the news focused on coming SharePoint Online improvements for Office 365 subscribers rather than SharePoint Server. That's because SharePoint Online does drive the direction for SharePoint Server. So let's touch on it. SharePoint Server, what was announced? They had a couple of things to say about SharePoint Server products in an announcement, adding support on Azure Stack for running SharePoint Server 2016 or 19. Although the timing wasn't described, Azure Stack is Microsoft Azure's data center in a box appliance offered by hardware partners that let organizations run Azure services in their own servers. In addition, it's possible to use Azure SQL Database managed instances with SharePoint Server 2019. Well, that's really neat. I did not know that. I didn't see that. Once again, it wasn't clear from the announcement if the capability was available yet. With managed instance, Microsoft's promising near 100% compatibility with the latest SQL Server on-prem Enterprise Edition database engine. Okay. SharePoint Spaces. Microsoft's surprise at last year's SharePoint conference was SharePoint Spaces, which was really neat if you guys didn't see that. It was a way of building 3D SharePoint online sites that provided mixed reality experiences for users wearing headsets. Not sure the use case of that yet, but it was really cool, right? At this year's event, Microsoft showed off the use of SharePoint Spaces for viewing its campus headquarters, as well as Microsoft's new construction plans. More than 1,800 companies have applied to use the limited preview of SharePoint Spaces, but Microsoft's currently just working with a handful of those customers. So, anyways, pretty neat stuff. I mean, they did have 1,800 companies applying to be in that limited preview, so there is some demand for that. I just don't know the use case that applies to me yet. New home sites. Microsoft announced a new landing page for employees called SharePoint Home Sites for sharing news and content based on the employee's role in the organization. Microsoft defined a home site as a communication site that is designed and designated to serve as the top portal in an organization. So, home site is built on top of a communication site, which is used for broader organizational communications and SharePoint sites. A home site differs from a communication site in that an organization's official news gets shown by default. Home site pages are integrated with Microsoft Search, which is another big thing to be sort of talked about and announced there at SharePoint Conference 2019. And they support video playback via Yammer and the Stream service. The page features the so-called mega menu layout for navigation by users, which shows the whole menu instead of using flyouts. Also has page type in SharePoint called a hub site, which is the top navigational page in SharePoint intranets. It's possible for home sites to be a hub site per the FAQ on the home site announcement. And Microsoft's planning on making home sites the new homepage for the SharePoint mobile app. It'll be accessible via a dedicated home button. Pretty neat, instead of the SharePoint start page, I think they call it. What else? The PowerShell command, yep. Stuff I kind of knew already. All right, let's move on. Other SharePoint enhancements. Microsoft also briefly noted that it's planning to add a new site starter design to make it easier for organizations to build SharePoint sites. That's going to be a huge jumpstart for us as consultants in the SharePoint space, I think, just to get that leapfrog ahead and say, boom, SharePoint in a box, now let's adjust it, right? Let's customize it, let's extend it, blah, 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 blah. But pretty neat now that you're going to be able to sort of get that intelligent intranet in a couple of clicks, right? No timeline described, but a coming organization's site design capability will have layout options such as a vertical section and new web parts. In a separate business solutions announcement, Microsoft described a coming organization templates for the Office Backstage feature. What is that? The organization templates, which lets organizations use preferred templates instead of Office defaults, is planned for targeted release. All right. What else? Yep. If you guys haven't seen the lookbook yet, the SharePoint lookbook, you got to check that out. I think it's SharePointLookbook.azurewebsites.net. Super cool stuff. Here, actually, here's a link right here. Boom. used this quite a few times already in some consulting engagements. You got different sort of samples of Office 365 SharePoint Online intranet site templates, and there's a provisioning system now to be able to deploy this to a site collection and have it set up. It really is just kind of a matter of changing some text and images, and you get a really good looking modern experience for a new intranet potentially, or just a site collection. What else? A few business apps enhancements are coming this summer. Around that time, it'll be possible to use Power Apps to build custom forms for document libraries. Boom. In SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. This summer, there will be a private preview of compliant workspaces. It's a feature that lets organizations drill down into single files to manage their retention policies. Orgs will be able to take bulk action on approval workflows with a new bulk approval. That's cool. SharePoint connector for Microsoft Flow, a solution for automating tasks, will be getting new actions to check in and check out documents, get version information, grant access, create folders, etc. Targeted release August 2019. I did kind of skip over security management compliance yesterday in the TED Talk, so let's see what they're saying. Multi-geo capabilities used to ensure that data residency requirements are met. Yep, got to do that, especially for all the EU legal stuff going on recently, right? Previously, there were multi-geo licensing restrictions based on the number of users. 500 users for multi-geo support effective June 1st, 2019. What else? SharePoint migration tool. Used to move local sites to SharePoint Online, has a SharePoint Server 2013 site migration capability that's now generally available. Microsoft describes it as a comprehensive solution for migrating your SharePoint Server 2013 sites and their settings and content. Pretty neat, right? Microsoft provided migration tools. It's also a SharePoint Server 2010 migration capability for moving content to SharePoint Online in Office 365, but it's still at a preview stage. It's got support for 11 languages. SharePoint Admin Center will be getting the ability to show classic and modern SharePoint management views. That's awesome. I'm going to start skipping through this because we have a lot of stuff to cover today, and I can't just spend it all on SPC 2019 recaps, right? Compliance Portal is getting some new records management capabilities. What else? Machine learning classifier capability that will indicate when offensive language has been used. That's kind of neat. Yammer additions. Microsoft announced some new improvements to Yammer chat solution. There's going to be a new web part, or an updated web part in SharePoint anyways, that also has a new conversation UI around Yammer conversations, which is pretty cool. It's got this question and answer feature capability. A lot of people like that collaborative discussion board style conversation with the ability to ask questions and then mark those as answers, kind of like a Stack Overflow inside your org, right? Pretty neat. But you do have to implement some Yammer then, right? So that's another governance talk all in its own. Stream additions, polls, surveys, and quizzes. If you didn't see that, you can use Microsoft Forms now in your stream uploads. So you upload a video, and then you can say, attach a quiz, poll, or a survey at this point in the video so that people can respond to some or give you some feedback, right? That was pretty neat. OneDrive announcements. Yep, the new UI coming for it. You're going to get the sync, you're going to get the OneDrive files on demand feature, you're going to get some other stuff that's pretty useful, and I'm very excited for. 365 and search right here, man. This is a big deal. So Microsoft Search is that thing that's going to span across the whole ecosystem, if you will. It's going to allow you to do some Bing searching, right? To where you not only get World Wide Web results, but you're also going to get inside your organization results at the top of the page there when you do a search. So there's a couple of screenshots rolling around out there on the web that explain it and display a screenshot that shows someone doing a search like, what's my vacation policy or something like that. And at the top of the Bing results page was their internal SharePoint related results, and then at the bottom there was obviously World Wide Web results about that too. But anyways, really cool functionality around searching across the whole spectrum of Microsoft's offering there in the cloud. And then some developer perks. Yep, SharePoint Framework. There was a talk of moving Microsoft Search into the Graph API, so that'll be full feature parity to the current REST API, I assume, or I think. So anyways, cool look at all the stuff coming out of SPC 2019. And there we are, 15 minutes into the stream and just through number 2. So let's get through this thing. So when rolling out Office 365, take the intranet along for the ride. See what they're saying over here. James over at CMS Wire is talking about, so So orgs are doing a rollout to 365 for many reasons, from basic considerations of resolving IT issues through to strategic focus on collaboration and productivity for show. Corporate intranets don't have a track record for moving quickly or fully exploiting the opportunities offered by new technologies. That's very true. That's true. There is a lot of intranets still out there on SharePoint 2013, 2010. I haven't seen any in 2007, honestly, or personally. But they are still sort of lagging there when they don't really need to be, and it's so approachable now to get into Office 365. So he's calling on a key element of 365 being SharePoint Online. It's super incredible pace of evolution right now. Very true, because that whole modern experience is very attractive, and people are really gravitating to that. Let's see, enterprise front door. Yep, fitting the fragmented enterprise experience together. The upshot of all these challenges, he says, and opportunities is that organizations should plan on moving the intranet to the cloud as part of the initial rollout. That'll require allocation of budget and resources. Yep. Anyways, good post there from James on rolling out to 365. Updates Office 365, releases new tooling. Microsoft does. What are they saying over here? They, let's see, unveiled several 365 improvements recently, including a new Windows desktop release, as well as improved setup and branding capabilities. They released version 1905, when was this, June 4th? Yep. Of Office 365 for Windows Desktop to subscribers. This release includes a few improvements for end users, as detailed in Microsoft's announcement. For instance, users can now see their personal and work accounts in one place within a new account manager, which lets them easily switch accounts. Very cool. They also made it easier for Outlook users to add Outlook.com and Gmail accounts that use two-factor auth. PowerPoint has live captions and subtitles. Excel, PowerPoint, and Word all have @mentions. Excel users now have an improved co-authoring collaboration experience in regard to conditional formatting, cell styles, range protection, view grid lines, and cross-sheet cut paste. That's cool. Microsoft also added the ability to change the background color of Word's Learning Tools feature, which permits users to make text changes for better reading comprehension. Improved setup and branding. So what's this? New setup experience in the 365 Admin Center that's being delivered to subscribers over a period of several weeks, according to a May 24th announcement. It creates a logical group of tasks related to your admin function within the setup page. Microsoft explained it's more of a filtered view for IT pros and will show their completed tasks, setup tasks, as well as tasks still requiring attention. They also made it easier for orgs to add their logos and branding in the Office 365 navigation bar that's seen by your end users, so that's good too. Free DMARC email monitoring. What's this? So San Francisco-based Valimail, a provider of email authentication services, offering its Valimail monitor for Office 365 at no cost to subscribers. It verifies that communications are actually coming from an organization's end users. Serves to ward off potential email fraud generated by shadow IT applications. You know, that's such a thing right now, right? All you guys out there on the 365 space, you getting some of that spam and that malware? It's nuts, the amount of phishing and spoofing that's going on in the 365 exchange area. Right, I'm going to skip past DMARC. Office 365 tools. Recently announced various Office 365 tools to be helpful. So you got the Azure Cloud Shell for interacting with PowerShell for your Azure and Exchange Online resources there. What else? Developers who create Office 365 applications now have access to the Office 365 API Editor tool. It's an open source tool, not supported by Microsoft, that lets developers test sending requests to REST-based application programming interfaces. It supports Microsoft Graph API, Outlook API, and the 365 Management Activity API, according to this video. So cool updates there for Office 365. It's so much rolling out, right? It's hard to keep up. It's good stuff. What else? Microsoft and Oracle team up to challenge Amazon. What? No, Motley Fool, look at that. So Microsoft and Oracle compete against each other in the database software and cloud platform markets, but the two rivals recently partnered up to challenge Amazon. Boom. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of that because Amazon has such a market share there. The new partnership will allow enterprise customers to split their workloads between Microsoft and Oracle's cloud platforms. That's cool. That means customers can directly link Microsoft Azure services like analytics and AI to Oracle's cloud services like its autonomous database. Azure is the second largest cloud platform in the world after Amazon, but it trails behind Oracle in the database market. Oracle controls nearly half the database market. That's crazy. I didn't know that. But its cloud platform is tiny compared to AWS and Azure. So that's definitely the makings of a good partnership, right? Simply put, Microsoft and Oracle are setting aside their differences to reinforce each other's weaknesses. The strategy, which makes it easier for enterprise customers to use Microsoft and Oracle services together, could widen both companies' moats against Amazon. Yeah. How this deal helps Microsoft. Microsoft's commercial cloud revenues rose 41% annually to $9.6 billion last quarter and accounted for 31% of its top line. They got 3 core growth strategies: Office 365, Dynamics CRM, and Azure. Azure consistently generates the strongest growth out of the 3 segments. How it's helping Oracle. Oracle's trying to expand its cloud-based businesses to reduce its dependency. Yeah, I think we can understand that. They're kind of filling in each other's weaknesses. Will this alliance stop Amazon? Nah. I doubt the alliance will prevent Amazon from luring away more database customers. Yeah, I agree. All right, cool post there at the Motley Fool. ARM64 version of Chromium-based Microsoft Edge leaks. The leaks are rolling in. So what is this ARM64 version of it? They announced, so this is, if you're not noticing, this is the Chromium-based Edge browser that we're currently viewing in our screen right now. So what's the ARM64 version? The company said it's working on new features to help Chromium on the new Edge grow. One of the new features Microsoft said it was working on at the time was ARM64 support, and it seems like we may be getting close to the release of that. A new build in Microsoft Edge Canary has leaked online, and it's built for ARM64 devices. It means if you have a Windows on ARM device, you should be able to download the build and install it on your device. That's neato. The leak does seem legit, and you can grab it for yourself from here, but do note that this is just a leak from a third party and doesn't come straight from Microsoft. So yeah, I probably wouldn't download that. Just me, though. Maybe you're super risk averse there. What else we got? Microsoft warns against bypassing the spam filters in Office 365. Microsoft urges both administrators and users to not bypass the built-in spam filters. Duh. In a support document published today, and it also provides guidelines for cases when this can't be avoided. So admins and users should avoid enabling allow or block lists in the spam filter policies and skipping transport rules scanning according to Microsoft. Toggling on safe and blocked senders is also not recommended for Outlook or Outlook on the web. Junk email reporting recommended. Do not use these features because they may override the verdict that is set by Office 365. So there's a whole bunch of guidance here on what you should and should not be doing in the security of your exchange online there. So check that out if you're sort of in that space and covering that thing. I got 5 minutes left to go around the blogosphere and the events. How's that gonna happen? How's that? I can't even talk fast enough to do that. I can't even drink either. Apparently I'm dribbling. All right, so around the blogosphere, Microsoft Build 2019 announcements from a SharePoint view. That's a post I made, so if you're interested in kind of seeing Microsoft Build announcements and how I saw some of that fitting into the SharePoint space, it's a post on our website, talks through that. Posted that, last week, I think. So go check that out. SharePoint Roadmap Pit Stop. This is always an interesting article. So this is the Intrazone podcast you can listen to. Luckily, they started to add all the text here, so you can also see what was discussed in the podcast. What else we got? Employee experience, dynamic employee experiences with that whole. Here's an image of that Microsoft form being embedded into a Microsoft Stream video. So as you're watching the video, you can see that at 8 minutes and 40 seconds, Microsoft form is going to pop up. Just fill it out real quick. Very intuitive. I started messing with it yesterday after I posted our internal TED Talk on Stream. Teamwork updates across SharePoint team sites, OneDrive, and Yammer. So there you are with the Microsoft Search capability, the full fidelity share libraries in OneDrive. Can't wait to get that in my tenant. Sharing links to block downloads for Office files, column formatting. Just yeah, that's a really comprehensive list usually on that site and that page. So I'm not going to go through all that, but. What's new for SharePoint and Office 365 from the SharePoint Conference 2019? We just kind of did that from the perspective of Redmond channel partner. So I'm not going to do that here again, but this one does have a lot of screenshots and a lot of bling here it is, that Microsoft search I was talking about a second ago. Here's an example of that page being returned. So he did a search for Daisy and Bing, and look at that, it returned internal to his organization some results up top, and then you see the public World Wide Web results down below. Neat stuff. So that's probably a really good article if you're looking for visuals around what was announced at SharePoint conference. So check that one out. Again, I'm going to paste this in chat just in case you aren't already on the newsletter Roundup. There's a link there to register for it. It will just send you that email every Friday morning around 8 a.m. So get plugged in, get access to all these links and all this information. Allow external users to access custom solutions in SharePoint. Let's check that out real quick. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be using a little PowerShell here. And yeah, so you can add everyone. And everyone except external users. So there's a couple of options there. What else we got? Renaming SharePoint Online site collection URLs. Boom, read your mind about, oh, with a link to sign up. Nice. Yeah, get some. It's good stuff. And then join me on Fridays like you are today, man. Appreciate you jumping on. Thank you. What do we got here? So this is renaming SharePoint Online site collection URLs. That's something of a new feature. Anyways, looks like they got a video post here to show you how to do that and a little bit of the detail about that. So yeah, good stuff there. 2 simple crawl rules for relevant SharePoint search results. Let's see what they got going on. With any luck, I'm sure users are actively using SharePoint search to discover and find content. Sooner or later, they'll struggle to find whatever it is they're looking for. Yep. Central administration go here, and they're setting some crawl rules like include only the all items view and exclude all other views. So it looks like a nice little post there on how to refine the results that you're getting. Removing the old storefront to the new shop, that's correct. This is one of our blog posts. We did move to a new storefront. So as for Bamboo products and services, that's all at shop.bamboosolutions.com now. So if you're an existing customer and you're like, whoa, where do I go? Hit us up. We'll fill you in if it doesn't make sense. What else we got? How to roll up content from the SharePoint sites using highlighted content web part from SharePoint Maven. Let's see. Content roll up and aggregation from multiple sites has always been a big matzo ball in SharePoint. If you want to achieve some content aggregation in old classic SharePoint, you had to rely on either a content query or a content search web part, and while they allowed to aggregate data in one place, user experience was terrible. And oh yeah, did I mention that you have to have a PhD in SharePoint to set them up? That's so true. Well, what else? Thanks to Microsoft's ongoing modernization of SharePoint, we now have a great way to roll up content from multiple sources. The web part that allows us to do this is called the highlighted content web part. With this post, I'd like to explain what the HCWP web part is all about and how to use it to roll up content across your sites. So it looks like this is for your modern pages. As you can tell, this is how you add web parts to modern pages. And there's a highlighted content web part there. You click the pencil icon to edit the properties. It looks like you got a bunch of choices for where that content should come from. The type of list or library potentially of content you want to surface here. And then some managed properties. So some similarity there to sort of those old days of content query web parts, but much more modern, obviously. All right, where are we at? SharePoint Framework bookmarklet tool for quick and easy debugging. So if you're in the development space, you're probably familiar with SharePoint Framework as it is sort of the new direction for developing solutions on SharePoint. As of 2016, SP2 and newer, right? 2019 and SharePoint Online. This is the way to deploy. So you write your solutions here. What are we talking about? Bookmarklet tool. So you wrote an article about how you can quickly test and debug your SharePoint Framework code when it's already deployed in an environment. I use this technique quite a lot as I mostly work with application customizers. My browser automatically appends it when I go to certain pages. Recently I had to clear my Chromium profile due to, okay. So it looks like a productivity hack here to help debug your solutions as you're developing those. So it might be a good find for you if you are developing those SharePoint Framework thingamabobbers. All right, where are we at? The intro zone, episode 32, does the SharePoint bring you joy? So funny, right? Does it bring you joy? It's everywhere now. It's all over my house, that's for sure. So what are we talking about here? Link to people, article, subscribe today. All right, so it's really just kind of highlighting this podcast that looks like Susan Hanley and Dave Feldman, Carrie Lambert were panelists of. So take a listen to that. I'm sure it's good. Anything Susan Hanley is awesome, in my opinion. How to resolve error initializing application error. How to resolve error initializing application. Error manifest not found for component ID when adding an SPFX web part to Teams. I'm not going to go into that one since we're kind of short on time. We're actually over, but looks like a nice detailed post there on some troubleshooting that may help you out. Get file content ×2 from SharePoint and Microsoft Flow. Actually, let's click on that. It might be interesting. So SharePoint's all about document management. Therefore, getting the content from a file must be something easy. Well, it is that easy that there are at least 3 methods of doing this. Get file content action, the get file content by path action, and send an HTTP request to SharePoint action. So he looks at the first 2 options. And he kind of explains the difference between them. That's what it looks like. So if you're doing something like that in Flow, probably a good post there to review and make sure you're up to speed on. Might eliminate some of that spent time getting through those solutions. SharePoint API and Microsoft Graph with Jeremy Kelly and Kathy Dew. I'm always interested in this kind of stuff. Looks like a voice podcast there, so there you go. Take a listen to that if that's in your space. Grant permissions and trust SharePoint app automatically via PowerShell. Yep. Some PowerShell there for you. Microsoft wants your ideas on end-user adoption and engagement with Microsoft 365 and Office 365. Say what? See what they're asking for. They're looking for IT pros to provide feedback on end-user adoption and engagement for Microsoft 365 and Office 365. You would be participating with a group of 6 to 8 in a 90-minute discussion session held online. And look at that. There's an opportunity for you. Topics of discussions include key challenges in your role, end-user adoption, engagement practices, and preferred communications from Microsoft. So your help will drive types of engagement Microsoft develops for you and your end users. In addition, we'll provide a $100 honorarium for your participation. Delivered to you or a charity, or to a charity of your or our choosing. To qualify for these discussions, you got to meet the following criteria. You got to be fluent in English. You got to have you got to be an admin of Microsoft 365 or Office 365 in your org. You got to live in the US, Japan, Western EU, not the UK. Not in government or education sectors. And you got to have an organization of at least 150 employees / seats on one of those platforms. Interesting. There's a link there. Get plugged in, get you $100. All right, that's it. Let's go through the events real fast. Just knocked out the Reston SharePoint Saturday last weekend. So what's coming up here? We got Bamboo Parent-Child webinar. When's that? That's next Thursday. Yep, so next Thursday. There's a link there to register for it if you want to attend. I'll be giving that one. Next Wednesday, actually, I'm going to not be streaming. I'm going to be out of town on a consulting engagement. So we will miss next Wednesday's Twitch stream, but that Thursday right after, I will be doing the webinar in Parent-Child. So come hang out. June 15th, Nashville, SharePoint Saturday in Paris. June 15th as well. All right. What else for our SharePoint Saturdays? We got Madrid coming up, Philadelphia. You got some in Beijing. I don't know how to say that. Pune? I don't know. Probably totally butchered that one. Vienna, New York City. We got Omaha, Charlotte, Lima, Central Europe. Got a bunch of SharePoint Saturdays there coming up. What else? We got some an insider thing here. SharePoint 2019 conference highlights by Teresa Eller. You got PMC webinar going on June 20th. That'll be from me as well. And we have a list roll-up at the end of the month. That's my last webinar for the month. So every week I'm doing webinars. If you guys are interested in come checking out some of our products, it's totally up to you, obviously. But yeah, feel free to jump on. Usually the Wednesday before those webinars, I go through the product on stream, and we just kind of, on a Twitch, sorry, and we kind of configure them and work through them and just hang out, just chat. I'm always there in case y'all want to just do a little, community hangout online. And that's it, guys. That's the weekly newsletter roundup this week. Woo! That was a lot. I'm tired of talking. I think I'm gonna go just chill out for a minute. But thank y'all for jumping on. Nate, appreciate it, man. Christopher, really appreciate it too. Make sure, if you have any problems signing up for that newsletter, let me know. sales@bamboosolutions.com. You can hit me up that way. Again, it's Kevin Townsend at Bamboo. Thank y'all, man. Y'all have a good weekend.